Hi, in this video I will be presenting a very high level overview of what LTV is. So if you are new to mobile user acquisition, you've probably seen this acronym a lot, and that's because it is kind of the cornerstone of what you will be doing in mobile user acquisition. It basically gives you the threshold for spending money on traffic. It gives you kind of a maximum price that you'd be willing to spend on traffic to your app. So it's very important. Um, LTV, it's not exclusive to mobile by any means. By the way, I think it's borrowed from kind of many industries. And actually, when I was writing my book, Freemium Economics, and doing research on LTV and the LTV and different approaches to modeling LTV, I found a lot of really great research from like the 80s and the 70s, and I think a lot of that is still very valid and very worth reading. What is new about mobile and what sort of adds a layer of complication to doing this on mobile is the fact that when you talk about mobile, you basically are talking about freemium, and so freemium it creates a little bit of a sort of different environment in which you calculate LTV as opposed to kind of subscription. And that's not to say that subscription apps don't do really well on mobile, like Spotify, HBO Now. They're really big, but they still are generally, even subscription apps on mobile are generally kind of freemium. So I think it's worth kind of thinking about LTV in a sort of mobile specific context when you're learning mobile user acquisition. And so that's kind of what I hope to do with this video. So what you see in front of you is basically a typical LTV curve. The reason it sort of goes up and then bows out is churn. So people are churning out. They're not coming back to your app anymore. They're not going to spend any more money. And so since this is normalized for a cohort, right? So this is basically LTV is always thought of like these are unit economics. These are on a per user basis. This is sort of the expected value of a user at some date, and it's valuable being presented like that because then you can apply that at the cohort basis, and then you could say, okay, well, I'm doing traffic acquisition. I want to spend this much on a user. What that sort of doesn't tell you though is really anything about how churn affects the number of people that would stick around, but really you don't care, right? I don't really care if I acquire a cohort of 500 users on day one. I don't really care how many of them are left at day 100 for the purposes of setting my bid. All I really care about is, on average, how much will those people have spent by day 100 if I'm sort of orienting my whole spending model at day 100, right? So this model basically starts at day one when they're first in the app, and then it kind of assumes that people are churning out or whatever, but at the cohort level, this much money is being spent per user cumulatively by some day, right? And so there's another video that shows how to sort of think about that data and format it and then bring it into Agamemnon to produce this LTV curve. You should watch that after this. But this video kind of is just introducing this concept, right? So I purchased this user at day one. They're worth nothing, and this is zero. This is a zero value, and I need to fix that. But they're worth nothing at day one, and then the cohort slowly starts spending money, and on a per unit basis, on a per user basis, they're worth more and more. But until we get to day 365, which is the end of this model tracks data through 365, and they've kind of, on average, on a per user basis, spent a little bit more than $2.40, right? And that's helpful, right? So that I know that if I spend, let's say, $2 per user acquiring traffic, then I'm making 46 cents. Well, I don't know, but I'm estimating, and if I'm really confident in my model, then I'm very confident that I will have made 46 cents per user, right? And that's helpful. At day 365, I'll have made that money back. And then you'd want to calculate kind of a break-even day. Like, at what day do we hit exactly $2? It looks like it's a little bit past day 100, right? So that's comforting. If I'm confident in my model, I know that I'm breaking even on this traffic at day, let's say 110. And that's not to say that every single user I acquired spent $2 at day 110 or spent 246 at day 365. It's just that the total amount they spent as a group, as a cohort, backs out to $2.46 at day 365.